Well, welcome. I am Dr. John Mercer, and I am the instructor of this class. And I wanted to do a video to tell you a little bit about myself. Normally, we would do this in person, but given that this is a remote delivery class, I wanted to at least put together a video so you get to know me a little bit. You hear a little bit of my story, and hopefully that will help you as you are going through your undergraduate degree program, or maybe that you're close to completing your undergraduate degree. I've been here at UNLV since 1999. I did my undergraduate work at Buffalo State College back in New York. So I am still a Buffalo Bills fan. Oh, maybe I got to change to Las Vegas Raiders. We'll see. But I've completed my undergraduate work in industrial technology back in 1986. And after I completed my undergraduate degree, I struggled. I swam in college. It was a Division III school, so not as competitive as what we have here at UNLV with a Division I competition. Nevertheless, it was still time consuming. I enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun. Enjoyed the competition as well. But I completed my degree in industrial technology, and I did not do a good job of really exploring the types of jobs I would be qualified for after completing my undergraduate degree. I left the university and started applying for jobs, and I did not like any of the jobs that I qualified for. They were often factory type of jobs, working in management, and really just not anything that really captivated me or really sort of had any interest to me. So I had a hard time, and I started to do a number of different things. I did do my first triathlon back in 1985, American Steamship in Buffalo, New York. And triathlon really caught my interest. I really enjoyed the sport. Obviously, coming from a swimming background, I was already prepared for the open water type of swimming. But I had also been at that point doing quite a bit of biking and quite a bit of running just for fun. And putting all three of those sports together in an event really sort of grabbed my interest, and I thought it was something pretty neat. So I started training for those events and competing, and actually was doing quite well regionally. And along the way, had to pick up some odd jobs, doing things like working in a bank or working as a lifeguard. Moved down towards Long Island, and did the types of jobs I needed to do to get a paycheck, and just try to figure out what was next. Well, one job I was working at Hofstra University in our pool as a lifeguard. I got to know one of the swimmers who used the pool, and she said, "Hey, you know what? I know you're doing a lot of biking right now. There's a study going on down at Lenox Hill Hospital in Manhattan, and they're looking for subjects, and they're looking for cyclists." I said, "Oh, that sounds interesting." So I contacted them and made an appointment to go down. I was living in Valley Stream, which was just outside New York City. Jumped on the train, went into Manhattan, where Lenox Hill Hospital is, met the researchers, got signed up for the study, and I had a bike at a certain intensity for a period of time, and they measured VO2, which I know now is VO2. Had to wear this mask. They had heart rate. They drew blood during the time I was exercising. Then I had to stop exercising, get off the bike, and I had to drink this liquid. Remember, this was back in the 80s, so this is where energy drinks or sport drinks were really being developed. I had to drink this drink, and then I had to sit there for, I don't even remember how long it was, 5 hours, 8 hours, I don't remember. And during the whole time, they were taking measurements of heart rate, oxygen consumption, they're drawing blood, and I just had to sit there, and I couldn't read or watch TV or anything. And obviously back then we didn't have our mobile phones with us because they weren't around at that point. And I was captivated by it. I thought the information was so neat. And so fortunately, I was able to talk with the researcher who is Dr. Beth Glaze, and I actually still talk with her. And I said, "You get paid to do this?" And she said, "Yeah, I do." And I went, "This is amazing. How do I get this type of job?" And she told me the different degrees that she had to earn, the different types of courses that she had to take. And I really was very interested. So I completed that study, went back in my job at Hofstra. And fortunately, Hofstra had a exercise science department, much like our kinesiology department here at UNLV. And I went to the physiology instructor, Dr. Zwerin, and I asked her, I said, "Hey, can I just sit in on your class? I work here. Can I just sort of, see if this is the right type of area for me?" And she said, "Sure, come on in." And so I started sitting in on her class. And her very first class was talking about rate of oxygen consumption during a graded exercise test. And it was amazing to me. I just really was drawn to it. And I knew that that's what I wanted to do. Well, what that meant, because my undergrad degree was much more engineering focused and business focused, I had to go back to school and get some additional undergraduate training in biology and chemistry. And then I applied for a graduate program down at University of North Texas, and partly wanted to go there because I still wanted to pursue doing triathlons, and I wanted to be able to train year round, as opposed to in New York, you really are limited to how long your season is. And I was accepted into a program and down at University of North Texas, and I moved down there in 90, and continued to compete in races and continued to improve. And now I was in a graduate program, and my purpose was really sort of selfish, is that I wanted to learn more about how to go faster in an endurance event. But I also knew I wanted to get into academics based upon the experience I had as a research subject. Finished my master's degree along the way, met my wife, who is from Calgary, Alberta, and we started a family. And then I worked at a cardiac rehab in Decatur, Texas, which is just north of Fort Worth. And that was a wonderful experience, because now I was taking the material that I was learning in my graduate classes and applying it to people who had heart issues. And they were just eating up the information because they wanted to get better, and they were highly motivated to get better. And better for them was to, be able to get fit enough to walk around and shop, or maybe drive their car. They weren't interested in doing 5Ks or 10Ks or marathons. They just wanted to be able to have a good, healthy lifestyle. And every piece of information that I had, I took and just reworked it for that population. And it wasn't, geared towards trying to make them go faster, but rather just to help them have an improved activity of a level of activity for their daily lives. And that was really meaningful, and I really enjoyed that. And I got to know a number of the patients quite well, and enjoyed that. But I knew I still wanted to get in academics, and I knew I still wanted to pursue being able to conduct research. And so I entered a PhD program at University of Oregon, and I went back to my roots of engineering and that interest, and focused in biomechanics. And so, I should have said, on my master's, I focused on exercise physiology. And so I really dived deep into the physiology aspect of human performance. Then I went back for my PhD and focused on the mechanics aspect of human performance, and focused back on my original engineering interest in my undergraduate days. Completed my PhD at University of Oregon in 99, and then I came down to UNLV and started working here. So my route to get here in front of you electronically really was a path that was not a straight line, and it really took me down lots of different angles. And so what I encourage you to do is to explore this area before you complete your degree. And what I encourage you to do is start looking at jobs now, even if you're going to finish in a year. but most of you may be finishing this semester. And so start looking for that job. Start looking at places where jobs are posted, and see if you can find that perfect job. Because once you find that perfect job that you find really interesting, then that tells you your roadmap that you need to follow to get that job. That tells you the experience that they're looking for. That tells you the type of education you may need to be able to qualify for that job. Just like when I determined after being a research subject that I wanted to pursue exercise science, I knew I needed to go back and do some more undergraduate training. I knew I needed to get a master's degree, and I knew I needed to get a PhD. And so that roadmap was sort of made out for me at that point, and then I just needed to follow through. So so that's one story. So where do you look for jobs? And we'll do this during the semester. Look for jobs in any job search engine that you go to, monsterjobs.com. You can go to any manufacturer of any exercise equipment or brand of exercise clothing, and look for careers. Look for the link for careers. And usually it's at the bottom of a page, and I'll go through that in another presentation. And just start searching. So if you'll be amazed at companies like Nike or Reebok, or shoe companies like Hoka, or exercise companies like Precor or Polar Heart Rate, they hire a wide variety of people, and they have a wide variety of jobs. And so you really need to start sifting through the different types of jobs and seeing what catches your eye. How do you know when something is a good match? Well, just like me, I just knew it. I was asking questions. I voluntarily went to a class. How about that? Usually we're trying to cut class, right? Well, you're trying to cut classes because you didn't find the right interest. If you found the right interest, you seek out learning opportunities. You seek out classes to go to. You seek out conferences to go to. You seek out reading material on the topic. That's how you know you found the right area and the right type of job even. And so, search for that job now. So that's one part of the message I want to give you in this introduction. The other part is to give you a little bit about my background with endurance performance. I've already told you that I started doing triathlons back in 1985, and I competed pretty heavily through the 90s. And then when we started having a family, I decided to take a step back, and I call it my 14-year taper. I have two boys, and once they reached about the age of 14, around that time where they started to drive, it wouldn't be 14, but a little bit after that, they didn't need their parents as much. And so now my wife and I were looking at each other and realizing we had a lot more free time now that our kids were more independent. And so at that point, we decided to get back involved with triathlon. The sport had changed quite a bit in that 14-year period. So I started racing again in 2007. So I really have two triathlon careers back in the 80s and early 90s, and then from 2007 on to present. I continue to race. I love racing local races, but my wife and I very much enjoy traveling the world and racing at a wide variety. We've raced in Norway. I've raced in Japan. My wife hasn't. We've raced in Europe, obviously throughout the United States, Hawaii, New Zealand. It's really taken us places that we've been able to enjoy not only the thrill of training for and competing in endurance events, but that we've also been able to enjoy learning different communities, learning different cultures, and meeting people along the way. And it's really been a fabulous experience. I've done, I don't typically talk a lot about my own races with a lot of people, but I don't always have the stats in front of me in terms of how many races I've done, but I've done well over 100 triathlons. I've done I've started at least 18 Ironman, iron distance events. And I have had 2 DNFs and 2 races that I did not finish. And those I've learned probably quite a bit from, even more so than those that I have finished. Uh, I've raced the World Championship races in Hawaii, as well as in half Ironman. So I've done quite well in that respect as well. And I enjoy it. I enjoy it. I actually am the current president of the Las Vegas Triathlon Club, and I try to share my uh, love of triathlon with the community. And we organize different events for people, and we have a wide range of athletes that are in the triathlon club, from people who are just starting out to high-level athletes who compete nationally and internationally. So I enjoyed the sport, and along the way, along the way of my career at UNLV, I decided to try to share a little bit of that love with students, and to show students how to apply biomechanical and exercise physiology concepts to understand how to do or improve endurance performance. And so you're in one of those classes now, either biomechanics of endurance performance or physiology of endurance performance. And so this semester, we will talk about that. And I will share stories with you about races, anecdotes about where it's important to know either biomechanics or physiology, or both at the same time. And even more than that, we'll talk about other areas related to endurance performance. And I hope that you enjoy this semester. And if you haven't looked at doing a triathlon, maybe this is the semester to look at it. And maybe you'll find a race that you would enjoy the challenge of training for and completing, whether that be a sprint distance or an Olympic distance, or maybe something longer than that. So that's a little bit about me. I hope to get to know you electronically during the semester. We'll do some different group calls, and I do hope to get to know some of you through the semester. Obviously, it will be harder than meeting in person, but nonetheless, let's give it a shot, because it is neat for me to learn your stories and what you're trying to do and why you're in this degree. And hopefully I can help you complete your degree, as well as make it a meaningful experience, so that you can have a successful career after UNLV. All right, thank you.